Hello friends, welcome to this YouTube video program. In our earlier program, we discussed about the concept of constructivist approach in the process of teaching and learning. And when we discussed the constructivist approach, we have also discussed the concept of behaviorism or the behavioristic approach of teaching and learning, and also we have discussed the cognitivist approach of teaching and learning process. So friends, in this program we will discuss that how constructivist learning approach is different from traditional learning approach. So we will discuss or we will differentiate both the learning approach, a traditional learning approach and constructivist learning approach in different aspects. So let us try to understand. You see, in traditional learning approach, as I have already said in my earlier program, that the teaching learning process, when we design the teaching learning process, we focus upon the teacher. Means every teaching learning activities is designed keeping the teacher at the center. So that's why teacher occupies at a central position in the teaching learning process. Means the approach that we use traditionally, just like in a lecture method, or just like you can say when a lecture come discussion method. Okay, and you see very fixed processes we use, or we practice very fixed processes in the traditional learning approach. But when we talk about the constructivist learning approach, here you see not the teachers occupy the central position, rather the learners, the child, the student, they occupy the central position. Means whatever learning activities, whatever learning design, whatever you can say things that will design for the teaching and learning process, so that will be designed keeping in consideration of the need, interest, abilities of the child, of the students, of the learners. So that's why in a traditional learning approach, teacher occupies a central position, whereas in a constructivist learning approach, the learner themselves, they occupy a central position. And here you see, in traditional approach, we follow very fixed processes, just like you see, you cannot take the name of many methods. Okay, just like you can use a lecture method. But when we talk about the constructivist learning approach, here you see flexible processes or flexible methods can be used. Okay, so what you will do, you will be using one method, and if we find that that method is not working well, then we can also change that method. We can also use many good method in which and by using that method we can engage the children, engage the students by doing different hands-on activities, at the same time to involve them in the process of teaching and learning. So that's why in one aspect we can say teacher occupies a central position in the traditional learning approach, whereas in the constructivist learning approach, learner takes a central position. Then second, we can say we can differentiate. You see, in traditional learning approach, mostly the directions and the instructions that has been given by the teacher is fixed in nature, and at the same time it depends upon the decision of the teacher. Okay, means the teacher will decide what to teach and what not to teach. Okay, what examples should be given. Okay, what illustrations should be given. So everything will be done by the teacher. But here without you can say keeping in consideration or without considering the learners, the teacher decides about the methods, teacher decides about the activities, decides about the learning resources, materials, everything. Okay, so here the decision is based upon the teacher, whereas in a constructivist learning approach, here you see means utmost care is given upon learners autonomy. Okay, I repeat it, learners autonomy. It means what the learners really wants. Okay, you see, before designing a teaching, you can have a talk, you can have a type of rapport with the learners, with the students. You can ask that how to design the specific learning activities, what they really want for, whether they have any question in their mind, so that that question should be addressed when we teach the students. So that's why learners independence and learners autonomy is highly used in the constructivist learning approach, whereas in traditional learning approach, teachers decisions and teachers directions are given priority, top priority. Next, let us try to differentiate in other aspect also. In traditional learning approach, you see teachers guidance and monitoring that occupies in a very dominant position. Means teacher monitor each and every aspects which is going on in the class, which is going on in the school, which is going on in the teaching learning process, and teacher always provides certain guidance to the students. You do this, you do that, this is useful for you, this is good for you. Means every time the control is in the hand of the teacher. Definitely control should be in the hand of the teacher, but here the control is a type of autocratic control, you can say, without concerning, without involving the students. Teacher try to impose it. Whereas when we talk about the constructivist learning approach, here you see what teacher does. Teacher facilitates, teacher supports the learners, and teacher encourage the learners. You see, so teacher, what they will do, they will encourage the learner, and they will facilitate, they will help the learner. Okay, they will provide a way to the learner, they will provide a type of positive direction to the learner, and always they will support the learners in terms of teaching and learning process, in terms of asking a question, in terms of getting answers, in terms of participating in the group. Okay, in terms of developing certain material, in terms of writing activities, in terms of other types of activities. So here the role of teacher is just like a supporter, a facilitator, and an encourager. Okay, whereas in traditional learning approach, you see the role of a teacher is just like to preach the students, to teach the students, to monitor the students, and to direct the students. But here not to direct the students, rather to facilitate the students, rather to support the students, rather to encourage the students. Okay, so then again we can discuss that in traditional learning approach, you see the participation of the learners or the participation of the students are very passive in nature. As I have already said, that teacher occupies a central position. It means all the learning experiences, all the learning activities that has been designed by the teacher without keeping in consideration of the students, without concerning the students, without concerning you can say the standard, the level, the need, the interest of the learners. So that's why here learners are passive, learners are not engaged in the process. Let I am a teacher, I am a type of autocratic teacher, I am teaching in a traditional, by using a traditional learning approach. So what I will do, whatever I know, whatever you can say I have designed, I will try to deliver it, okay, without involving the learners in the process of teaching and learning. But when we talk about the constructivist learning approach, here you see active participation of the learners in the process of learning should be ensured by the teacher. Means the teacher will ensure that students are participating actively, students are taking part in the discussion, students are asking questions, students are answering, students are the teacher should invite the students to write something on the board. Okay, and many a time you will find that teachers are doing certain work in a group, they are taking the leadership, they are preparing certain project, they are presenting that project. A small group of learners, they are presenting their project in front of other students. So that's why in constructivist learning approach, the involvement of the learners will active. Okay, they will engage themselves in each and every types of activities which is going on in the class. Then next, we can say that in traditional learning approach, you see the learning that takes place, that is within the boundary of the four walls of the classroom. Okay, means the things which is going on, the things which is happening, that is within the four walls of the classroom. Okay, means here the learners are getting very less scope to get certain good experiences, certain field experiences. Okay, only they are engaging themselves in the classroom, within the four wall of the classroom. Whereas when we talk about the constructivist learning approach, here you see learning takes place in a very wider social context, in a very wider social context, as I have explained in my earlier video, that you see here the learners are having every potentiality. The learners are having or they are able enough to construct their own knowledge, but teachers should support them, teachers should help them, teachers should facilitate them to construct their own knowledge by citing certain example, by connecting their experience with the new knowledge, by connecting their day-to-day experience, their family experience, their experience from their immediate environment with the content, with the curriculum that they are studying. Okay, so that's why here you see when they will construct, when they are able enough to construct their own knowledge, so what you have to do, you cannot keep them within the four walls of the classroom. Rather, you have to provide scope to them, and you have to take them to the wider social context. Means you should take them to the library, you should take them to the laboratory, you should take them to different social sites, you should take them to the field, you should take them to different tours, different excursions, okay, field trips. So when you will engage students outside the classroom activities, you see their knowledge horizon, their experience will be widened. So that's why the learning that will happen when you will take the students outside the classroom, then you will find that they are experiencing many more things. Okay, that is that they are not limiting themselves within the classroom, within the curriculum, within the syllabus. Rather, they are connecting the things which has been written, the things which has been addressed in their curriculum with the things which is happening in the world, with the things which is happening in their environment, in their immediate environment. Okay, so that's why learning which takes place in the constructivist learning approach, that is very wider, in nature, and the social context is taking importance. But in the traditional learning approach, social context is not given importance. Means within the classroom, the learners, the whatever teachers will teach, the learners have to learn it, the learners have to acquire it. Okay, so that's why this is the simple difference between the traditional learning approach and the constructivist learning approach. Next, we'll discuss, in a traditional learning approach, you can say that knowledge, we consider, or the teacher consider, knowledge is as given and fixed. Okay, so here this is the concept, that as if knowledge is fixed, and whatever teacher will teach, the learners have to acquire it, learners have to learn it. Okay, they have to grasp it. Means whatever will be given by the teacher, that is the final. Okay, but when we talk about the constructivist learning approach, here you see knowledge is as evolves and created. So every time knowledge can be created in different context. Okay, you see, I was talking about the students are having, or the learners are having able enough, or they are having that sense of ability to construct, to create their own knowledge, to create their own experiences, to connect new knowledge with their earlier experiences. So that's why knowledge is not fixed, knowledge can be evolved, every time new knowledge can be emerged. Okay, and new knowledge can only be emerged when the earlier experiences of the learners will be connected with the new knowledge. So that's why there is no fixed knowledge, and knowledge is not limited only to given. Rather, knowledge may be created and knowledge may be evolved. So learners, as a teacher, you have to support, you have to facilitate, and you have to encourage your learners for evolving their knowledge, at the same time to construct their own knowledge, and at the same time to create new knowledge also. Next, we'll discuss, you see, in the traditional learning approach, you see, the learning approach that we focus, we can say that the disciplinary or interdisciplinary approach of learning is given importance. Okay, so the discussion which is taken place in the traditional learning approach or in a traditional classroom, you can say that mostly it is disciplinary in nature or interdisciplinary in nature. Disciplinary in nature means when we talk about let history, we are concentrating ourselves, means all our focus is upon only history, means we are learning history. When we are learning science, you see our 100% focus is on science. Okay, you are learning science, we are learning science, we are giving examples of science. And when we are talking about interdisciplinary focus, means here what you are doing, it is the matter of two disciplines. Okay, so means we are connecting, we are correlating two disciplines. Means when we are teaching or when we are learning history, at the same time we are also feel that there is the essence of, there is the requirement of learning other branches of social science. Means we have to correlate the knowledge of history with the knowledge of political science, with the knowledge of sociology. Okay, but this is the matter of you can say in traditional learning approach, we are talking either a single discipline or at most two discipline, not more than that. But when we talk about the constructivist learning approach, so here we talk about the multi and transdisciplinary approach of learning. Okay, multi and transdisciplinary approach. So we call it is multidisciplinary approach when we use or when we teach the students by using multiple disciplines. Okay, just like in social science, you see history, economics, sociology, political science, economics, public administrations, then other subjects are there. So when we are teaching a particular subject to the learners, at the same time we should expose them and we should give ample examples, we should give suitable examples from other branches of knowledge, from other disciplines, from multiple disciplines. We have to link one discipline with other discipline. We have to link with mathematics, mathematics with language, mathematics with economics, economics with sociology, sociology with history, history with political science. So multiple disciplines means as a teacher in a constructivist classroom, a teacher has to use multiple disciplines. Okay, so that's why multidisciplinary and transdisciplinary approach is given importance in a constructivist learning approach, whereas a single discipline or at most interdisciplinary approach is practiced in traditional learning approach. Then next we can say that the teaching learning process that we design in traditional learning approach is very linear in nature. It goes in a straightforward way. Okay, means something has already fixed one step, then after the another step, then another step. So what I will do as a teacher, as a traditional teacher, I will follow only the step. Means by adopting a linear method, I will teach the students. Whereas in constructivist learning approach, so here multiple and divergent exposures are given to the learners. Means I can use a multiple method. Okay, when I am demonstrating the things, at the same time I can also explain, I can also discuss the things, I can also engage the students in the learning. Okay, so I can do a type of brainstorming also. I can engage students to write something, to do something, to do certain hands-on activities. So here no single method is enough. In a traditional approach, what we are doing, we are using only few methods for teaching all our subjects. But here, when we talk about the constructivist learning approach, here the exposures that we are giving multiple exposures. The students will get exposure from the classroom, inside the classroom, and outside the classroom. Outside the classroom means, you can say, in different clubs, they will be member in different clubs, like social science club, language club, literary club. So what they will do, they will involve themselves in varieties of activities. Okay, so they will feel that learning is not monotonous, rather learning is multifarious. Okay, and learning is ever evolving, and learning can be created. Okay, knowledge can be created. So that's why, as a teacher, as a constructivist teacher, you have to develop such sense among the mind of the learners. Then again, we can say that in traditional learning approach, you see, the process that we follow may be a method, may be a technique that is very short in nature, very few in nature, and very terminal in nature, just like we do in summative assessment. Okay, so means the things get completed within few months. Okay, but when we talk about the constructivist learning approach, it is multifarious and continuous in nature. Okay, so every day with learning, in the teaching learning process, with every content, with every teaching, certain assessment will be included. So learning and assessment will go together. It is a continuous process. Earlier learning is connected with the new learning. But when we talk about traditional learning approach, here you see it is very short, few, and terminal in nature. Means as if one chapter, one unit is not connected with other unit. The earlier teaching is not connected with the further teaching. So that's why in constructivist approach, every learning activities or every learning method, every lesson will connected continuously. It will be connected with each and other. Then the next difference that we'll discuss, that in traditional learning approach, we focus upon assessment of learning. But in the constructivist learning approach, we focus upon assessment for learning. So we should understand the concept of assessment of learning and assessment for learning. Assessment of learning means this is a type of summative assessment. Means here assessment what you have learned. So just like in a semester and exam, or by practicing a term and exam, annual exam, what we are doing, whatever you have learned, we are assessing it, and we are quantifying it, we are giving a percentage. Okay, 60%, 70%, 80%. Means here we are assessing your learning. But when we talk about in constructivist approach of learning, here you see the concept of assessment for learning we use. Assessment for learning means, you see, the learning and assessment will go together. When we will do certain assessment, the continuous assessment, the objective and the purpose of adopting continuous assessment is not to assess the learning of the students, the level of learning of the students, rather to help them by using the assessment, they will understand better and they will learn. Okay, so here we can say assessment for learning means the learners will in the process of assessment, they will create new knowledge and they will understand more and more of the things that they have learned. Okay, so friends, in a traditional learning approach, all the things that we have discussed, that is focused upon the teacher. Whereas in a constructivist learning approach, the things that we have discussed, all the things are focused upon the learner. So that's why it is the major difference, that everything in constructivist learning approach, everything, all types of treatment, the design, teaching learning process, activities, assessment will be undertaken as per the need of the child, as per the interest of the child. So you have to keep the child at the center. But in a traditional learning approach, teacher will come with a preparation and whatever the knowledge teacher is having, he or she will exhibit that knowledge, express that knowledge in the classroom, as if that is the end of you can say end of the knowledge, and students will not get enough opportunity to express themselves, to create new knowledge and go beyond whatever is going on inside the classroom. So friends, these are the certain difference between the concept of a traditional learning approach and constructivist learning approach. In our next program, we will discuss certain more pedagogical things that we practice in the process of teaching and learning. Thank you.